Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Mad Meta Magic, where we try to make the magic meta mad. Now, today, I got a request to play Merfolk from a friend of mine, and so I figured, why not? I was looking at this list, and I think I still have it up on Goldfish over here. So I'm just going to bring this over really quick. Well, maybe. Okay. So this list is $600 on Moto. 400 of that is Force of Negation out of the sideboard. And the remaining cost is tied up in Chalice, Cavern, and Vial. Now, I wouldn't play a deck like this without Vial, but I might play this deck without Cavern and without the expensive sideboard tech. If you wanted to play a budget deck and this turns out to be good, just saying, you can cut about $500 off the cost and basically make this a budget deck. So don't feel like the expensive cards are probably gatekeeping this, other than maybe Cavern. Cavern might be really important versus Control. That being said, let's go ahead and talk about this deck a little bit. So, Merfolk is a traditional kind of disruptive, aggressive deck. This one doesn't seem to be playing as many counter spells as the traditional Merfolk list that I'm used to seeing. But then again, I haven't actually seen this deck be meta in a long time. For our one drop of choice, we have Bethnic Biomancer. I think the other one was Curse Catcher. They used to play Curse Catcher in the slot, which is just a 1-mana counter an instant or sorcery unless they pay 1. But Bethnic Biomancer actually has some game. If some 1/1 counters get placed on this card, you get to draw a card and then discard a card. It can pay 2 mana to loot, which is a very powerful effect. It's a very strong 1-drop. In the 2-drop slot, we have Mana Leak for some disruption. Just a good tempo blue counterspell. It's good in the early game, it's good in the mid game. Kind of falls off a little bit in the late game, but if we're in the late game, we're probably losing anyway. Silvergill Adept is a 2-mana 2/1 Merfolk that, as an additional cost, you can reveal a Merfolk from your hand or pay 3. You can completely ignore the additional cost if you Aether Vial this card in. It's a very strong interaction, basically giving you a 2/1 that draws you a card, increases the number of Merfolk you have on the board. Spreading Seas. Spreading Seas is more important in this deck, but does disrupt decks like Tron. You can disrupt non-blue decks by turning their lands into colorless lands effectively for them. So, like, if your opponent is Jund, you can turn your opponent's Blood Crypts into islands. It's very powerful. But it also has synergy with Lord of Atlantis and Master of the Pearl Trident. Now, Master of the Pearl Trident and Lord of Atlantis have the same text. All their Merfolk get 1/1 and have Island Walk. They're a 2-mana 2/2 Lord. They're very strong. So basically, once you get Vial on 2, you keep it on 2, and you just run your opponent over with ever-increasing size Merfolk. Like I said, Master of the Pearl Trident has the exact same text. Now, this list is not playing any 3-drop Lords. In fact, the only 3-drops we're playing is Dismember, but we had so many 2-drops, I had to actually move them over into the other column. So, Unsettled Mariner, technically a Merfolk, it's a changeling, but it basically has Ward 1, if you're familiar with Strixhaven. It's whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless the controller pays 1. It's a very powerful effect, increases the cost of casting kill spells or burn spells targeting your face. Hand hate as well. We have Tidebinder Mage. It's very powerful versus red and green decks. You can tap down a creature that is red or green permanently as long as you control Tidebinder Mage. And then we have Merfolk Trickster. Merfolk Trickster is also very powerful. You can tap target creature an opponent controls, and it loses all abilities until end of turn. That text can be extremely relevant versus a lot of creature decks. And you can actually gain some advantage by shutting off First Strike, blocking profitably, that sort of a thing. And it by itself has Flash, so that's another thing that's worth noting. So let's see. Before I go to the sideboard, let's go ahead and talk about the mana base really quickly. Cavern of Souls, I would play it in every tribal deck if you got it. If you don't got it, depending, you might be able to substitute some other lands, but in general, there's no replacement for Cavern of Souls, simply because of the second ability, which is you can add 1 mana of any color of a creature type that you name when you play Cavern, and if you do, and you cast a spell with it, a creature spell with it, that spell can't be countered, which is extremely powerful. We also have just good old-fashioned Island, arguably the best basic land in Magic. We have Mutivault. Mutivault has some relevant text on it, because Mutivault becomes a 2/2 creature with all creature types. So if you have a Spreading Seas on the board, and you have a Master of the Pearl Trident, it becomes a 3/3 unblockable, because it is a Merfolk, it's also a land, it's very strong. The activation cost is really, really low, so something to keep in mind. And then to help support our Unsettled Mariner, we have Seachrome Coast and Wanderwine Hub. Wanderwine Hub, basically free to run because of all of the merfolk that we have in our hand. Although we're not playing any of the white merfolk from Lorwyn or Eventide, Morningtide. I don't remember. I don't remember which set this is. I think this is Lorwyn. And then Waterlogged Grove, which we can just cycle from play to draw a card. And that does it for the main deck. For the sideboard, we have Relic of Progenitus as our Grave Hate of choice. We have Chalice of the Void versus a lot of decks that play a lot of 1-drops. This card can be very powerful. We don't play that many 1-drops, and if we have an Aether Vial out already and we play Chalice of the Void on 2, then we can be vialing in our 1-drop anyway if we want to. I'm not 100% sure on the sideboard plan for this because I've, 1, never played Merfolk, and 2, never seen this version of Merfolk played. So, we also have Aether Gust, good versus any deck that plays red and green spells. Echoing Truth, which is good versus any deck that plays a lot of problematic permanents. Things like Ensnaring Bridge, that sort of thing we can just yeet back into our opponent's hand and then attack anyway. Another Tidebinder Mage, because we have a lot of red and green spell hate. And then 4 Force of Negation out of the side for when our opponent is absolutely casting stuff that we can't handle. Basically, I would bring in Force of Negation versus a deck that's trying to cast Wrath of God, Day of Judgment, or Damnation, Bontu's Last Reckoning, any board wipe that isn't Supreme Verdict, simply because Supreme Verdict can't be countered. But and then all of our permanents are 2 or less because we're playing Lurrus out of the board, so we're actually playing Lurrus Merfolk, I guess. And with that being said, I think I've covered everything, and I will see you guys in round 1. Alright, we'll be on the draw for round 1. We did reveal Lurrus. This hand is a little bit awkward. We need to draw another Merfolk to actually play the Silvergill Adept on turn 2. If we don't, we have Mana Leak or Spreading Seas, and we can leave up Bethnic Biomancer activation with Mana Leak on turn 2, so I'm willing to say this hand is okay enough to keep, but we'll see what happens. Apologies if you can hear air conditioner or anything running in the background. I'm not sure why it kicks on at this time, but it does. Opponent starts Radiant Fountain, so they are probably Amulet. They could also be Eldrazi, I think. Alright, play Wanderwine Hub, reveal Bethnic Biomancer, and play Bethnic Biomancer. Pass the turn. So now that we drew a second Merfolk, we can play Silvergill Adept. Opponent exiles Relic and plays a Waste. It does look like it's Eldrazi. We untap. We draw Seachrome Coast. Now, I think it's in our best interest to play Mutivault and leave up Mana Leak, because I've got a feeling they're going to tutor for Temple. Well, if they just tutor for Temple and only have 2 mana, kind of feels like we should get on the board with Silvergill Adept, I guess. Yeah, that makes more sense to me. Play Mutivault. Play Silvergill Adept, revealing Bethnic Biomancer. Draw a card. It's a Tidebinder Mage. Get in for 1. Next turn, I think, is the turn we'll leave up Mana Leak, because they're going to probably go get Eldrazi Temple here. And unless they're Eldrazi Stompy, they won't have anything they can play here. Yeah, okay. So we draw a Master of the Pearl Trident, which is excellent. So this turn, I could Spreading Seas this turn, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to play Seachrome Coast, play a Bethnic Biomancer, go to combat, and get in for 3. Take my opponent to 17, or to 18, because I forgot they gained life. Pass the turn. So if my opponent plays a Thought-Knot Seer, or they play a... Do I counter an Expedition map? Yeah. Yeah, I think I do. Now, if my opponent has land Thought-Knot Seer, obviously that's worse. But if they're leading on Expedition map, I think that's their absolute best follow-up. Okay. They play Walking Ballista on 1. Alright, we untap. We draw Bethnic Biomancer. So, Spreading Seas, Eldrazi Temple. Draw a card. Actually, I should have played Master of the Pearl Trident first, because if they let Pearl Trident resolve without Ballista, then all of our guys are too big to Ballista. Yeah, that was actually a mistake, because now our guys are going to be unblockable, so they'll kill something in response here, unless they're really desperate to put a counter on this Ballista. Yep, okay. So that was technically a play mistake. I think I missed 3 damage. Hopefully that doesn't matter. Go to combat. Hit our opponent for 4. The cool news is we have Tidebinder, or we have Tidebinder Mage doesn't do anything, but we have a couple of loots as well as Mutivault activation here. So let's go ahead and activate Mutivault, go to combat, get in for a lot of unblockable damage, go looting. I'm going to loot away Aether Vial, hit our opponent to 4, play a Seachrome Coast tapped, pass the turn. And my opponent basically needs an All Is Dust, and I don't think they can cast it. Yep. Alright, Disruptive Aggro, here we go. Now, Chalice of the Void is terrible versus our opponent's deck, but it might be decent against us if they can ever stick it on too, which isn't super likely. Dismember, being our kill spell of choice, kills everything up to and including Reality Smasher, which is great. I think I may want Force of Negation here. And the reason that I say that is because Force of Negation could be important if we can nab, like if they go Tronland map, I would Force of Negation map, especially if they mulliganed. Echoing Truth could be important, setting them back by just forcing them to unsummon their Eldrazi, especially if they play multiples. I think I'm going to just cut Tidebinder Mages for a couple of Force of Negations, and we'll try it like this. I mean, in general, Force is not amazing versus them, but we definitely want a hand we can get on the board at turn 1, if possible. Aether Vial to help us dump our hand would be great. Alright, start by revealing Lurrus. Well, we can start Aether Vial or Bethnic Biomancer, but that's all we got. You know what? Sure, we'll keep. We do have a Dismember if our opponent plays Thought-Knot Seer or anything like that. The issue is if they go Temple, Thought-Knot Seer, that's the hand that's going to be hard for us to beat. They start Mine, play Map. We untap and draw Biomancer. Play Mutivault, Aether Vial, pass the turn. Opponent plays Power Plant, tick up Vial to 1. So they're going to have Tron next turn. We can play Cavern, but Seachrome Coast is better. Pass the turn. It really depends what they play off the Tron mana here. This is basically the hand we would have forced map if possible, but we didn't have Force in our opener. So they get Urza's Tower. They play Tower. They play Thought-Knot Seer. Okay, so we are going to Violin Bethnic Biomancer. Thought-Knot Seer. We will Dismember. They do get to pick from the card we draw as well, which is a little unfortunate, but this way they don't have a 4/4, and that seems kind of important. We draw another Aether Vial. I suspect my opponent takes Mana Leak or Bethnic Biomancer, and I'm leaning towards they take Bethnic Biomancer. Yep. They're going to have enough mana that Mana Leak's probably not going to matter. Okay, and then opponent plays Mind Stone. And Spatial Contortion's the Biomancer. That sucks. Okay. Vial, we will tick up to 2. We draw Master of the Pearl Trident. We'll play Cavern, name Merfolk. I can either leave up Vial. I can Master of the Pearl Trident on their turn, but I would be missing 3 damage if I didn't Vial in and attack with Mutivault. They have 8 mana. I could counter a big Ballista, I suppose. They don't know we drew a creature, so I'm just going to play another Vial, and we're going to pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play Matter Reshaper. Well, there's nothing I can do about that. They play a Crawling Barrens, and they pass. On my opponent's end step, Violin Master. They have another Spatial Contortion or Dismember. It'd be kind of unfortunate if they did. We untap. This Vial, I'm actually going to tick up to 3, because we're probably going to put Lurrus into our hand. Okay, Spreading Seas, kind of a new plan. We're going to Spreading Seas the tower, tapping like this. Maybe I should have hit the Crawling Barrens, actually, but maybe taking them off mana is more important. Okay, we hit a Dismember. They didn't have this become a creature. I could Dismember now, and then get in for 2, because I'm not leaving up Mana Leak this turn. The alternative is playing an Aether Vial. Yeah, I'm just going to Dismember. Hopefully they don't hit another Urza's Tower. That would be very unfortunate. Radiant Fountain. Alright, so this was HP neutral for them. Go to combat. Hit them for 2. I was really hoping to draw a land. The problem is this Vial is only good for Vialing in Lurrus and nothing else. Which is an issue. I think our best draw is a land that comes in untapped. So anything but a Seachrome Coast or Wanderwine Hub. Okay, they play a Radiant Fountain. They have 6 mana. They play Reality Smasher. Our Reality getting smashed. We untap. So this Aether Vial staying on 3. this Aether Vial ticking up. We draw Spreading Seas. Alright, I don't like this, but put Lurrus into our hand. Pass the turn. I may have to double block to stay alive. And my opponent can make a really big Crawling Barrens. Is this a second Smasher? Alright. Yep, that's game. Alright, let's try to keep a hand that doesn't suck that bad. We want a good curve out with maybe a disruptive Spreading Seas early. Alright, I would like to play first. Reveal Lurrus. Nothing on one, but we can start Mutivault. If I do, though, I'm taking myself off of playing anything else. I think I have to mulligan this hand. This hand is actually potentially super good. The problem is, if I don't draw any white source, I can't play half of my hand. This hand I like a lot better. I'm going to put back Merfolk Trickster. And we are going to lead on Aether Vial. Pass the turn. Opponent starts Scavenger Grounds Expedition Map. That's good for us. That's not a particularly good land, and it means they probably have a slow hand. Play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. I'm not playing out Lord of Atlantis because I would like to hold up Mana Leak. Odds are they're just going to be cracking Expedition Map this turn, so maybe I should have played out Lord of Atlantis. But we could also loot with Bethnic Biomancer mana, so I felt like it was reasonable enough to keep this hand. Okay, so with them having a temple, I'm probably going to save Mana Leak for whatever they play next turn. We will Vial in Bethnic Biomancer and activate it. See what we draw. If it's a land, I'm discarding it. Okay, they have a Warping Whale. Okay, so we don't get to loot. Untap. Aether Vial ticking up to 2. We draw Spreading Seas. Spreading Seas the Cavern. We draw Master, pass the turn. Unless they have another temple without mapping. Okay. So they get an Eldrazi temple, but they play Power Plant. Interesting. So, Vial in Master. Untap. Vial staying on 2. We draw Mutivault. Play Mutivault. Activate Vial. Put in Lord of Atlantis. Go to combat. Attack for 3. So my opponent will have 5 mana next turn, and we have Mana Leak plus Dismember, which is pretty great. Next turn we're attacking for 10. So if they play Reality Smasher, we got a Mana Leak. Honestly, if they just play Thought-Knot Seer, I think we Mana Leak. Okay. We untap. Aether Vial staying on 2. We draw another Dismember. Fire up the Mutivault. Go to combat. Get in for 10. Opponent goes down to 7. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They have to have removal, and it can't be Dismember. So they need to have, like, Spatial Contortion here? Yeah. I'm pretty sure that they needed more than just one piece of removal, too. Awesome. I mean, that's exactly how we drew it up. We disrupted our opponent's mana base, we killed their creatures, we mana leaked their guys, and just beat down with unblockable dudes. So, alright, I'll see you guys in round 2. Okay, round 2 will be on the draw. This hand is super tempting. If we hit a single land, we're golden. And even if we don't, we're like sort of okay. I'm willing to keep this. Versus an unknown opponent, it's pretty scary, because if they lead on Thoughtseize, we're probably in trouble. And if this is burn, we might also be in trouble, but we'll see. Alright, Goblin Guy, draw me some lands. Silvergill Adept on top. Well, that at least is a redraw. So, start Aether Vial. Pass the turn. If we can draw a land here, that would be perfect. Because then we could Vial in a creature that can block down the Goblin Guide and leave up Mana Leak. Well, we can Vial in Bethnic Biomancer. Drawing Spreading Seas is not what we want, though. Opponent plays Eidolon. Well, we're not planning on casting a lot of spells at this point. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Wooded Foothills. Plays a Swift Spear, damaging themselves. Goes to combat. Attacks us for 5. Goblin Guide. Finds us a cavern, but that might be too late. They fetch Wooded Foothills. You get a mountain. Lightning Helix, targeting our face. So they damage themselves but gain life. We take a lot. We go to 7. This probably just means we're dead. But, because we just didn't do anything for turn 2, which is a huge issue. Untap, Vial up to 2. We draw Silvergill Adept. Play Cavern, name Merfolk. So we'll play Lord of Atlantis, take damage. And we'll Vial in Master of the Pearl Trident. Pass the turn. This at least gives us blockers. Opponent is running low on cards in hand, but we're probably just dead. The odds of them having 2 burn spells is pretty high. Yep. And we're dead to any burn spell. Yep, there it is. Alright, we may have actually had a chance there if we had drawn a land for turn 2, because we would have had so many lords and gone very wide and then made ourselves unblockable while our opponent was damaging themselves. But, alright. Chalice of the Void in, Dismembers out, Aether Gust in, Tidebinder Mage in, and I think I'm going to drop... I kind of want to drop Mana Leak. I'm going to drop a Mana Leak and a Bethnic Biomancer, I think. I may want some number of Force of Negation, but I don't think I can pitch that many cards. Spreading Seas also seems less important. Still possibly important, but less so. Alright, we'll try it like this. Alright, we would like to play first. Reveal Lurrus. Yeah, this is pretty sick. We're going to keep. We are going to lead on Aether Vial. Play Cavern, name Merfolk. Play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. So next turn, what we're going to do is play Chalice on 1. Opponent plays Swift Spear. Gets in for 1. We untap, Aether Vial, ticks up to 1, we draw Cavern. Alright, play Cavern, name Merfolk, then we'll go ahead and play Chalice on 1. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps, plays a Sunbaked Canyon, no attacks. We untap, Aether Vial, going up to 2, we draw Master of the Pearl Trident. So, play Wanderwine Hub, reveal Silvergill Adept. Let's go blue, casting, revealing Master. I don't want them to see Tidebinder Mage yet. So we'll draw a card. See Chrome Coast. Okay. Pass the turn. Depending on what our opponent does, we may be able to Tidebinder Mage on their beginning of combat step to tap down the Swift Spear. We could actually let Vial tick up to 3 and put Lurrus in our hand as well, because we're going to have enough lands we can cast whatever we draw. Opponent plays a Wooded Foothills, goes to combat, activate Vial, put in Tidebinder Mage, tap Swift Spear. Okay. Opponent cracks Wooded Foothills, plays a Mountain, 2 mana. They have a Searing Blaze to kill Tidebinder. Okay. We take 3. Untap. Put Vial on the stack. I'm going to activate Vial, putting in Master. Then let Vial tick up to 3. We draw Silvergill Adept. So play Seachrome Coast. Put Lurrus into our hand. Go to combat. Hit our opponent for 3. Opponent goes down to 15. Pass the turn. They do have 2 Pain lands out. And currently, next turn, we can Vial in Lurrus and then play Tidebinder if they don't attack. We can guarantee a big swing in our favor. Although this Vial, we basically gave up on the Vial. Which means we either have to draw another land to play Silvergill Adept or another Merfolk. Okay. Opponent plays a Sacred Foundry tapped, which is a good sign for us. Okay. Aether Vial going to stay on 3. We draw Spreading Seas. So we're going to Vial in Lurrus. Play Tidebinder Mage. Tapping using our caverns. Alright, that's the game. Now, us being on the draw, I think Chalice might be too slow, and my opponent may bring in enough stuff to actually disrupt it. So I think I'm going to drop the Chalice plan for game 3, and I'm going to bring in a couple of Force of Negations. Because if we counter a Searing Blaze, that's a huge life... That's almost worth trading 2 cards, because it's like getting rid of a Bolt as well as a Bolt targeting a creature. I'm still not 100% that this is the correct choice. Maybe I still want a Mana Leak over this or something. Maybe Chalice is still correct even when you're on the draw, but I'm not 100% on that. I'm not generally that good at playing decks with Aether Vial in them because my brain doesn't do the math properly. This hand just seems too slow. So I'm going to mulligan this, even though it's a turn 1 Vial. This hand actually looks quite a bit better. I'll keep. I'm going to put back a Silvergill Adept. We already have 2. I'd like to draw an Aether Vial or the Biomancer to have something to do on turn 1. Unfortunately, we did not. Play Seachrome Coast, pass the turn. It's interesting with this much white mana in the deck that we're not playing Path or Oust, and instead we're playing Dismember. Alright, opponent plays Sunbaked Canyon. We untap and draw Unsettled Mariner, which seems like the kind of card I want to play. Seems like it's good versus burn. Makes all their burn spells more expensive whether they target us or whether they target an opponent. They bolt the Mariner. They have to pay for it. Okay. Well, I'd like to start drawing lands now. Opponent plays a Sunbaked Canyon. We untap. Draw Biomancer. So play Silvergill Adept. Revealing Biomancer, because that's the other card we'd play this turn if we could. We draw another Mariner, pass the turn. If they are spending all of their burn to just kill our guys because they have no threats, that's probably a good sign for us. Okay? They sack a land to draw. They play an Eidolon. We untap. We draw Spreading Seas. I can either play Adept or I can play Spreading Seas. I could also play Tidebinder Mage and just start attacking. I want to draw cards, though. Yeah, I'm going to play the Tidebinder Mage. It gives them something else that they have to answer. Their Eidolon kind of becomes a liability in this situation, because now it just starts dealing damage to them, and we can start beating down. If I draw a land and want to cast 2 spells, I could Merfolk Trickster to take Eidolon's text off of it for a turn, and then play Biomancer, but forcing my opponent to play spells when they're under their own Pyrostatic Pillar seems pretty sweet. Not to mention, I can just play Mariner next turn. Opponent has no blockers, and even if they kill the Tidebinder Mage this turn, they still don't get to attack. So they're bolting our face, taking 2. They skewer, killing Tidebinder. Okay, we untap. We draw a Vial. I mean, Vial is nice. But maybe Trickster is better? I think leaving up Trickster is stronger. We're taking 2 damage regardless. So let's attack our opponent for 2. I could just play Unsettled Mariner as well. I think I'm going to play the Mariner here. Us not drawing lands is a huge issue right now. Vial, I just don't think we can play Vial and take our foot off the gas right now. Okay, opponent cracks Wooded Foothills. Gets a mountain. If they Searing Blaze, I'm pretty sure Unsettled Mariner triggers twice. That's huge, actually. If they have Searing Blaze and we just took them off of it, that's huge. Oh! Get wrecked, opponent. Oh, they took damage off their own Eidolon. They paid for it. Why'd they pay for it? It triggered twice, dude. It was on the stack. Oh, opponent. Oh, they conceded the match. The shame concede. Mariner was definitely the correct play. Alright. I will see you all in round 3. Alright, we'll be on the draw for whatever round this is. 3? Okay. Yep, we'll keep. We got a 1, and we can leave up flash creatures with Mana Leak, so... Opponent starts Basic Swamp, Inquisition. Well, they get to take whatever they want. This could be 8-Rack, this could be Jund. The energy land shows me that this is probably 8-Rack. I don't know if we've got a good matchup versus them or not. Probably not. Alright, they take our 1-drop. We draw a Dismember, play an island, pass the turn. Opponent untaps, plays a Bloodstained Mire, cracks Bloodstained Mire. It's probably Jund, Stomping Ground. Okay. Well, we should be able to dismember a Tarmogoyf here. Valky. Each opponent reveals, exile it this way until they leave the battlefield. Okay. So they can take a Merfolk Trickster, and then we're going to dismember Valky. If this is just actual Jund, I'm going to be pretty surprised. Because I wouldn't expect them to play Valky. I haven't seen that yet. Play an island, pass the turn. We'll leave up Mana Leak / End Step Trickster. Opponent untaps. Inquisitions. Well, I'll Mana Leak an Inquisition. I don't want them to take the Lord of Atlantis. Okay, the crack Bloodstained Mire. They get a Mountain. Interesting. And a Satyr Wayfinder. So this is not a regular version of Jund. Reveal Seasoned Pyromancer. And they're probably putting Raging Ravine into their hand. Okay. We untap. We draw Seachrome Coast. Play Waterlogged Grove. Pass the turn. I should have played Seachrome Coast. Oh, I didn't think about that. That was a mistake. Okay, opponent plays Raging Ravine. Goes to combat. No attacks. On their end step, we'll go ahead and Merfolk Trickster. Tapping the Wayfinder. We untap. Draw Spreading Seas. Spreading Seas, the Raging Ravine. We want to draw a 4th land if possible. Or, I mean, okay, go to combat. Attack them for 2. Shh. It's okay, Porter. Play a Seachrome Coast and a Benthic Biomancer. Benthic. I always say Benthic. It's Benthic. That's going to be a tough one for me. Pass the turn. Alright, opponent untaps. They draw a card. And attack for 1. We're not going to block. Kind of hoping they play another creature that we can Trickster and tap. Them having a Planeswalker like Liliana or... I guess Kroxa is annoying. So we'll discard Trickster, because we want to play the Lord. Opponent loses Kroxa. They play a Bloodstained Mire. And they cut to ribbons, killing Biomancer. We draw Silvergill Adept. So play Silvergill, revealing Lord of Atlantis. This lets us draw a card. Okay. Play Lord of Atlantis. Our dudes are now bigger and unblockable. Hit our opponent for 3, take them to 11. Opponent can play Kroxa next turn if they want. And I suppose they will. And that's an issue. Because we need this Lord. We're at least not taking damage off the Kroxa, and at least they can't block. I suppose if we draw a Lord, our opponent is just toast. And we are a deck that plays like 8 of them. So there's still a 6 out of 46 chance we draw one, which is pretty sweet. And we even have a redraw with Waterlogged Grove if we want. We draw Silvergill Adept, which we can't play. So cycle Waterlogged Grove. We hit Master of the Pearl Trident, and everything's peachy clean. Peachy keen? Peachy clean? What's wrong with me? We still kill our opponent. That's what matters. Alright, so opponent is on some kind of self-mill Jund. I definitely want another Tidebinder Mage. Relic actually seems decent versus my opponent's deck, because they're playing so many grave... They're playing so much grave stuff. I think I'm going to cut a couple of Biomancers, a Mana Leak, 1 Dismember, because most of their creatures were small, and I'm going to put an Aether Gust in over another Mana Leak, I think. I don't think we want Force. Force is not good when you're trading resources like this. It's good when you're nailing combo pieces and stuff like that. And Chalice might be really good versus my opponent, but I'm not 100% sold. Definitely not on the draw. If we lose and go to game 3, I'll consider Chalice after seeing more of my opponent's deck. Alright, reveal Luris. Well, we have an opener with Relic, Biomancer, and Unsettled Mariner, so I'm going to keep this. If we get Inquisitioned and they take Relic, we can lead on a creature. Otherwise, we'll probably just lead on Relic here. I'm going to play Cavern instead of Mutivault because we have a lot of double-colored creatures. We're going to name Merfolk. And I am going to lead on Relic because my opponent is playing Kroxa. They crack Bloodstained Mire, getting a Blood Crypt tapped. Exile the Bloodstained Mire. Pass the turn. Now if my opponent plays Valki, they'll probably take Unsettled Mariner, at which point we'll have to Dismember and then play Benthic Biomancer. They play Kroxa. So I'm gonna discard... Discarding Dismember seems incorrect. I think I discard Trickster or Biomancer. I'm gonna discard Biomancer. They sack Kroxa. We untap. We draw Lord of Atlantis. Exile Kroxa. Play Wanderwine Hub. Reveal Unsettled Mariner. Play Unsettled Mariner. Pass the turn. That makes future hand hate worse. Future removal worse. Put it Inquisitions. Unsettled Mariner triggers. They pay an extra mana. So they're going to take Lord of Atlantis here, almost 100%. Yep. They play a Verdant Catacombs, and they pass. Well, they took Merfolk Trickster, interestingly enough. We untap. Draw Waterlogged Grove. Exile Inquisition. Play Mutivault. Play Lord of Atlantis. They can't use a kill spell this turn because of Mariner. We hit them for 3. We can leave up Relic, Sack, or Dismember on a creature here. Pass the turn. So far, it seems like we're in a good position. Opponent cracks Verdant Catacombs. Gets a Stomping Ground tapped. They untap. They play a Swamp. Anger of the Gods. Can't really do anything about that, I suppose. These creatures are gonna get exiled. Okay. That sucks. We untap. We draw Silvergill Adept. So play Waterlogged Grove, and put Lurrus into our hand. Exile a card from our opponent's grave. Pass the turn. This is why I've been avoiding sacking Relic this game. It's because I'm thinking that I'm gonna need to Lurrus and cast something. Oh, the problem is I can't even cast Lurrus. I don't have enough white mana. Alright, we untap. We draw Silvergill Adept. So, blue, blue. Cast Silvergill Adept. Revealing Silvergill Adept. We draw Cavern. So, Cavern. Naming Cat. I think it's more likely that they have hand hate than they have actual more removal. So I'm going to play Lurrus here. Pass the turn. I guess maybe I should have waited. Exile a land from their graveyard on their upkeep. I mean, if they play Bone Crusher, they're basically spending their whole turn to do that. They play Satyr Wayfinder. They hit nothing. I think they were hoping to get a land to play Bone Crusher. 2 mana, Collective Brutality. They're going to Duress away our Dismember and kill our Silvergill. Okay. We untap. We draw Spreading Seas. So I'm going to start by casting Spreading Seas on Blood Crypt. We draw an island. Okay. Actually, hang on. We're going to... I think we nuke the Graves in case our opponent has like a Delve threat or something. So let's exile the Graves first. I think it's more important that we have the extra mana. We get a Wanderwine Hub. It's not exactly what I wanted. Alright, play an island. Pass the turn. We'll probably cycle Waterlogged Grove on our opponent's end step. The problem is now we don't have a way to currently answer this Bone Crusher, and we don't have enough creatures to assemble a critical mass to attack with like Island Walk or anything like that. But it plays Bone Crusher, 1 card left in hand. They attack us for 1, we go to 18. Okay, on their end step, cycle Waterlogged Grove, get a Seachrome Coast, untap, draw Wanderwine Hub, pay full price for our Merfolk, draw card, so many lands, oh my goodness, pass the turn. That's like all of our redraws too. So Biomancer would be a good top deck, Inquisition's a complete whiff, oh whoops. I guess we still have some Silvergill Adepts, but we'd be paying full price for them if we drew them. Rankle is a very good draw for our opponent, because they can make us sack here. I'm not going to block. If they want to kill this creature, they can force us to sack. Each player discards a card, each player sacks a creature. Discard Seachrome Coast. We lose Silvergill. I guess I could have animated Mutivault and sacked that instead, but we get a Tidebinder Mage... Okay, which can tap Bone Crusher without dying to... or without us taking damage. Play Wanderwine Hub, not revealing anything. Oh, I missed 2 damage. I needed to animate the Mutivault and attack. That's huge. That might actually be the second time I've done that this game, too. The intent was to sack Mutivault to Rankle when they attack, and inevitably force us to sack a creature, because they'll just sack the Bone Crusher Giant. But we missed 2, possibly 4 damage. Each player discards a card. Each player draws a card, loses a life. So animate Mutivault. We draw Tidebinder Mage. Sack Mutivault. Alright. And they drew Inquisition. Alright. So even if I draw Dismember, I'm just dead. Alright. Alrighty. So knowing what we know about our opponent's deck now, I think Relic is definitely the card we keep in the deck. I actually do want Benthic Biomancer. I want to get on the board a little bit earlier. With our opponent having the Wrath effect, I think I want Forces over Mana Leak, Aether Gust. I'll take 1 Tidebinder back out. I'll still stay at 3 Benthic, actually. Hang on a sec. I still want the Relics. I still want the Vials. Dismember is still important. I think the hand we play looks more like this with 3 Forces. Because Anger of the Gods is something we absolutely cannot allow to resolve. And it's not great when your opponent has a bunch of hand hate, but reveal Lurrus. I also played Lurrus at a very inopportune time last time. And we have Lords. We will be playing something on turn 2 regardless. So I think I'm going to try keeping this. This is not the greatest hand versus our opponent's deck, though. If they mulligan, we at least have the advantage that we started with 7 cards, but they also kept 7. If this hand had an Aether Vial, it would be crazy. We're not going to reveal anything past the turn. I don't think I would force hand hate. I mean, I could try and we could just play out Lords, but no, I'm going to let them take stuff. They might just take Force and then have Anger. But I mean, if I forced this and they have Anger, then I wasn't going to have Force for Anger anyway. So they take Master of the Pearl Trident. Okay, we untap. Opponent knows our whole hand. So we draw Aether Vial. Alright. Play Wanderwine Hub. We're not going to reveal anything. We're going to play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Plays a Raging Ravine. Thoughtseize. Probably take Lord of Atlantis then. Yep. Alright. We untap. Aether Vial, ticket up to 1. We draw Tidebinder Mage. Pass the turn. We'll be flashing in a Merfolk Trickster. Opponent plays a Bloodstained Mire. And passes. Play the Trickster. Opponent Ancient Grudge. Do we need the Vial? Kind of, but I think we need protection from Anger more than we need Vial. We untap. Draw an island. Play an island. We can at least hardcast Force now. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Pass the turn. When it cracks Bloodstained Mire. Overgrown Tomb tapped. I could have put Lurrus in my hand this turn, but I don't think that's a correct thing to do. Opponent plays a Swamp. Collective Brutality. Alright, we'll force. They play Satyr Wayfinder. Opponent does dump a Kroxa into the grave and gets a Raging Ravine. So I'd kind of like to draw and cycle a Relic here. Mutivault's not really what I asked for. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Hit them down to 3. Or 13, excuse me. Wow, brain. I've got food sitting here on my desk and I'm very distracted because I ordered some food today. Opponent plays Bloodstained Mire, cracks Bloodstained Mire. For a mountain, so they're going to go Kroxa here. We're going to discard Tidebinder Mage and tap Kroxa with Trickster, I think. We're losing out on the permanent tap, but we kind of have to go for the tempo here. We'll discard Tidebinder Mage. This also plays around them having a hand hate spell on top of Kroxa. So play Merfolk Trickster, tap Kroxa. We're really hoping to draw a Lord here, just to put the pressure on. We untap. Draw Seachrome Coast, which is not that thing I asked for. I can put Lurrus in my hand, and I'm discarding Seachrome Coast, only attacking for 4. Yeah, I think I have to. Go to combat. Hit them for 4. We're volunteering to take 9, though. Opponent untaps. They go to combat. Attack us for 6. We discard Seachrome Coast. Take 3. We need to draw an untapped blue source that can cast one of our lords. They play Raging Ravine. They play Lily. They make us discard Luris, that's a problem. If we draw a Lord, we can take them down to almost nothing. The problem is, next turn they just animate Raging Ravine and swing lethal. But we can take them to 1. So, play Lord of Atlantis, go to combat, attack our opponent, attack Liliana. We need to stop her from edicting this turn. We're probably going to have to chump with Mutivault. Pass the turn. We're going to need a good top deck, though, to win. Yep, that kills us. Oh, and Mutivault's not big enough to block down Kroxa. Alright, opponent hits us for 9. And it's not like we can miracle a Thunderous Wrath and kill our opponent or anything like that. Go to 2. Is our last card a Bolt? That's a Valky. Alright, well. Good games, opponent. Good games. Alright, I will see you all in round 4. Alright, we'll be on the play for round 4. And I think this is a fine hand I'm going to keep. Going to lead on Island to conceal a little bit of information. Maybe my opponent will think I'm Mill. Because I did reveal Luris. And it's drawn. Alright. So we'll play Wanderwine Hub, reveal Unsettled Mariner. Play Unsettled Mariner, pass the turn. Now whether this is Eldrazi Tron or regular Tron remains to be seen. They play Tower, so we're going to Spreading Seas this turn. They get nerves as mine. Alright, sorry about the coffin. We get a Dismember, play Cavern, name Merfolk, Spreading Seas the Tower. Get another Unsettled Mariner, go to combat, attack for 2. Opponent untaps, they draw, and they play Urza's Mine, and they play Matter Reshaper, so they are Eldrazi. We draw a Merfolk Trickster, so we're going to play Unsettled Mariner, and I think I am going to dismember this right now. I played Unsettled Mariner, because if my opponent plays Thought-Knot Seer, we're going to counter the ability of Thought-Knot Seer. I just flip Reshaper into Reshaper, so that's what's happening right now. Opponent untaps. They go to their main phase, they play Blast Zone. Blast Zone is a little bit of a problem. They play Walking Ballista on 2. Walking Ballista not currently useful. We draw Waterlogged Grove, so play Waterlogged Grove. Let's go ahead and play Merfolk Trickster. We'll go ahead and tap Ballista. And we'll play another Merfolk Trickster. Tap Matter Reshaper. Go to combat. Attack for 4. Opponent untaps. The problem is now they're pretty highly incentivized to take up Blast Zone to 2. If I draw a Lord, we can kill him, but that's about it. We untap, draw an Aether Vial. I think we gotta go for the Lord here. Wanderwine Hub. Alright. Play Wanderwine Hub. I guess revealing Tidebinder Mage. Play Aether Vial. Go to combat. Swing with the team. Opponent blocks. I could Merfolk Trickster to stop them from wheeling with Reshaper. They can't crack Blast Zone in response, and they can't ping down any of our stuff. But it plays into Blast Zone harder, which really is kind of disincentivizing me to do that. So we're going to let them get one wheel off of this. It's a Reality Smasher. Okay. So opponent going to take up Blast Zone to 2, or put a counter on Walking Ballista, either one. Blast Zone up to 2. They untap and draw. They immediately crack Blast Zone. Sure. We lose all our things, including the Spreading Seas. So now our opponent now has mana. They play a Maze Mind Tome. And they draw a card. Okay. So we'll play Merfolk Trickster, tapping Walking Ballista. Okay. We untap. Aether Vial up to 1. We draw Silvergill Adept. So cast it, revealing Tidebinder. We draw Cavern. Play Cavern, name Merfolk, put Lurrus into our hand, go to combat and hit them for 2. The problem now, though, is that they have an active Walking Ballista and a ton of mana and a ton of other things they can do. So, this is not looking good for us. They're cashing in Ballista. Okay? That means they have a lot they want to do with their mana this turn. They draw a card off of Mazemind Tome. They play Eldrazi Temple. They play Reality Smasher. This is only the target of a spell an opponent controls, not ability. So, take up Aether Vial to 2. We draw Lord of Atlantis. So play Lurrus. Then we can cast... I could Spreading Seas Blast Zone, actually. That might be worth it. The only way it's not is if they have a Wrath, like a Oblivion Stone or an Ugin. But... oh shoot, I tapped wrong for that. I have to play Trickster this turn. Never mind. Play Trickster. Tap Smasher. Go to combat. And attack for 2. Lurrus only lets us play spells on our turn, so we can't Trickster on our opponent's turn to stop the attack and keep the creature tapped, unfortunately. Or fortunately, depending on how you look at that interaction, as positive or negative. I suspect quite negative if you enjoy playing Merfolk, and quite positive if you don't. Okay, opponent's going to scry on their upkeep. They kept Blast Zone on 1, that's kind of interesting. Hopefully they don't just have an Oblivion Stone or something. They play Eldrazi Temple. I mean, they could All Is Dust, that would suck. It's an All Is Dust, so we lose Lurrus. They play Karn, Great Creator. I needed to Vial in response. I just clicked through that prompt without thinking. That sucks. It's probably not going to matter, but they get Batterskull. So if I'd Vialed in Tidebinder, I'd have a 2-2. I could play Lord and have a 3-3, and then wouldn't be able to swing past Smasher. Like, I'd still need a Spreading Seas. Not that it would have mattered because my opponent had All His Dust, so even had I got Spreading Seas, we get a Mutivault. Play Tidebinder, play Lord. We can still win if we draw Spreading Seas. But we have to draw Spreading Seas, and it has to be this turn. My opponent also can't have an answer for any of our creatures. Never mind, they can gain 4 life off of Mazemind Tome. We actually can't kill them. Forgot about that. This card's so good. They play Batterskull. Animate it. They equip Batterskull. Alright, that is also a way that they can survive. So, versus Eldrazi Tron yet again. I think we want the Force of Negations. It's important for map, it's important for All Is Dust, for sure. Mana Leak is not as good here as it should be. Neither is Tidebinder. I'm going to drop the Tidebinders. I'm going to cut 1 Mana Leak and 1 Benthic Biomancer. I could also bring in Echoing Truth. Maybe I want 1 Echoing Truth. No, Dismember should be good enough. Well, they can get Ensnaring Bridge, I suppose. So bring in 1 Echoing Truth over a Dismember just to kind of hedge my bets. Alright, we'll play first. Reveal Lurrus. And we got Vial, we got Lords. So we'll keep. Basically, we just want to draw nothing but creatures. So start Island, play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. Opponent did mulligan to 6. They start Urza's Mine. Nothing. We untap. Aether Vial ticking up. Would not mind drawing a 1-drop here. It would be pretty good. Mutivault doesn't really count. Play Wanderwine Hub. Reveal Unsettled Mariner. Play Mariner. We're just doing this so we don't get dismembered or spatial contortioned early. Opponent plays Blast Zone. Dismembers Mariner. Okay. They can pay for it. We untap. Aether Vial, ticking up to 2. Draw another Wanderwine Hub. That's not good. Play Mutivault. Play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. Opponent plays an Eldrazi Temple into a Thought-Knot Seer, so we will Vial in Master of the Pearl Trident. Thought-Knot Seer resolves, and they can't take anything. We untap. I'm not going to use Vial's ability yet to take it up to 3 to play Lurrus, but I will soon. Play Wanderwine Hub, tapped. Pass the turn. No attacks. Opponent untaps. I mean, if they activate Blast Zone this turn, that would be bad. They play Karn. Oh, get him with the Force. Opponent goes to combat and does not attack. Take up both Vials. We draw Silvergill Adept. So, Vial in Silvergill Adept. So we'd like to draw Benthic Biomancer. Play Wanderwine Hub. Reveal Biomancer. Put Lurrus into our hand. Vial in Lurrus. Then play Unsettled Mariner to help protect our guys. Alright. Pass the turn. I mean, this is extremely bad if they have All Is Dust and can play it. They're 1 mana away from it, so it's not that unreasonable. They play Expedition Map. They crack Map. They get the last Urza land. They now have 5 mana. They play a Maze Mind Tome. They're drawing an extra card. Okay. We untap. No and no. We draw. Echoing Truth. Let's go ahead and Echoing Truth Thought-Knot Seer. Unless its controller pays 1. So we just countered Thought-Knot Seer. That's not good. The old Unsettled Mariner Thought-Knot Seer combo. Go to combat. Attack for a lot. The problem is, if I don't play out Biomancer, they're just going to Thought-Knot Seer and steal it. I mean, if they have All Is Dust, we're dead. They're drawing 1 extra card to look for All Is Dust, or 2 extra cards to look for All Is Dust as well. They didn't seem to have it immediately, so hopefully they don't have it now. They drew on their upkeep. They didn't have it. Thank goodness. Alright. Lurrus really paid off there. I can't believe we countered the draw off Thought-Knot. That's silly. Echoing Truth was pretty decent. I mean, it just functioned as a dismember, but... Alright, yeah, run it back. I actually think this Biomancer drawing us cards has been stronger than Curse Catcher is normally. Like, we have the blue-white Changeling Unsettled Mariner as sort of our Curse Catcher of choice. This is a very slow hand. We do have Spreading Seas for mana-based disruption. You know what? I'm going to try keeping this. Hopefully they start in such a way that Spreading Seas will be useful. They start Urza's Mine into Relic. Okay, that's probably a good start for us. We draw Island. We'll lead on Wanderwine Hub, reveal Benthic Biomancer, and play him. Pass the turn. Next turn we're playing Sea Chrome Coast and probably Spreading Seas. Opponent did mulligan to 5, I think? 4? Did they mulligan to 6? They mulliganed. Kano can't into math. We untap. Draw Master of the Pearl Trident. Play Sea Chrome Coast. Go to combat. Attack for 1. Hit them to 19. Second main, we will Spreading Seas the Urza's Tower, just in case they had Tron. We get an Aether Vial. Well, that gives us a way to use all of our mana next turn. Opponent sacks Relic to draw. They untap. They play Blast Zone and a Walking Ballista, killing our Biomancer. We untap. Draw Merfolk Trickster. Play Cavern of Souls, naming Merfolk, and play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. If they play Thought-Knot, they'll take Master of the Pearl Trident, but we can flash Merfolk Trickster to at least tap their creature. They play Karn, the Great Creator. They're gonna wish. What are they wishing for? Batterskull. Flash in Trickster. We untap. Aether Vial ticking up, though a little bit uselessly at the moment. We draw Lord of Atlantis. So play Wanderwine Hub, reveal Master, play Master, play Lord of Atlantis, go to combat, kill Karn. Opponent up, untaps. I think they tick up Blast Zone this turn. They play an Urza's Mine. They play Matter Reshaper, which cannot block. We up... Oh, it actually can block because they can Ghost Quarter Urza's Tower. Take up Aether Vial. We draw Sea Chrome Coast. So, go to combat. Attack our opponent for a lot. They float blue mana. They Ghost Quarter their own tower. They get a Wastes. I mean, if they have Spatial Contortion plus block, that would be pretty backbreaking, but they take 7, Matter Reshaper down. They hit Maze Mind Tome, which is a pretty amazing hit. It's not the best one they could have had, but it's still pretty good. Play Seachrome Coast. Put Luris into her. Well, do we need to? We can play around Thought-Knot by putting it into our... Well, we can't play around Thought-Knot and Karn, so I'm just going to put it into my hand now. So they scry, then they scry again. They play Eldrazi Temple. So I chose to play around Karn. If they have Thought-Knot here, that's what's bad for us. Anything else is fine. Okay, they have the Thought-Knot. That sucks. We need to draw Spreading Seas now. Aether Vial gonna stay on 2. Draw Seachrome Coast. So many lands. Pass the turn. At least they can't tick up Blast Zone this turn. Opponent draws a card. I guess I should have tried to play around Thought-Knot Seer and just added Luris to my hand the turn I could actually play Spreading Seas. They have a Reality Smasher, so they're attacking us for 9 this turn. They're attacking us for 5. They're keeping Thought-Knot Seer back on defense. They may not attack at all, apparently. Yep, they choose not to attack. Okay. We untap. Aether Vial gonna stay on 2. We draw Silvergill Adept. Violin Silvergill Adept for a redraw. Actually, probably should have waited until my opponent's turn. They're already pretty incentivized to tick up Blast Zone. Play Blast Zone. Loot with play Benthic Biomancer. Loot with Benthic Biomancer. Pitching Seachrome Coast number 1,000,000. Pass the turn. Yeah, we needed to draw Seachrome Coast and Seachrome Coast Blast Zone this turn. I probably should have waited to Violin the Adept, too. Opponent just scries. Yeah, so I think I threw this around. Just didn't sequence right. So, please forgive me. Yep. Blast Zone up to 2. Opponent cracks Maze Mind Tome. Activates Blast Zone. Hits us for 9. No blocks. We go to 11. Opponent plays Map. Last card in hand is Batterskull. We untap. Vial gonna stay on 2. We draw Waterlogged Grove. So cycle Waterlogged Grove. We get a Trickster, which might buy us a little bit of time. Hit our opponent for 2. Opponent untaps. They draw. They crack Map. They get a How many Blast Zones does this deck play? Why does it feel like 10,000? Violin Trickster. Tapping Smasher. The worst part is they can just crack Blast Zone on 1 now. They attack us for 4. No blocks. And with them being able to get that other Blast Zone, attacking with Benthic Biomancer was absolutely the correct play. Because if I didn't, they could have just cracked Blast Zone and attacked with impunity. Alright, we're not taking up Aether Vial. We draw Biomancer. Play Biomancer. Loot. So many lands. So, don't think Eldrazi Tron is a good matchup. Even though I think we won one. I'll see you guys in round 5. Gotta quit drawing lands. Gotta keep better hands, too. Alright, we'll be on the play for round 5. If we draw a single land, as we've been wont to do, this hand is pretty good. We do have some plays even if we don't, but not very strong ones. I'm gonna try keeping this. What was it I just said? Need to keep better hands? Play Seachrome Coast. Play Biomancer. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Plays a Snow-Covered Forest. And passes. Draw another Lord. Go to combat. Attack for 1. Play Biomancer. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Mountain. Into a Soccer Tribe Elder. We untap. Draw an island. Play an island. Play Lord of Atlantis. So it looks like our opponent is Titan Shift, probably. Go to combat. Attack for 4. They block and sack, taking 2, going to 17. They untap. They play a Cinderglade into a Dryad, Stomping Ground untapped, and a Steed. Alright, we untap. We draw Biomancer. Well, all of their lands are islands, so we can attack for free, as long as we don't attack with Lord of Atlantis. Go to combat. Attack for 4. And we're going to leave up Trickster / Dismember, I think. Because I think just Titan is not enough to kill us. Opponent plays Valakut. Oh, shoot, I did not think about them playing Valakut. Because Sakura Tribe Elder can get them another mountain here. Well, Dismember. They need to sack Steve in response. But they can still kill the Lord of Atlantis here. If they don't shoot the Lord of Atlantis again, we get to keep it. They shoot us? That's not right. Because if I kill this, you don't have enough mountains. Yeah, Lord of Atlantis sticks around. We can attack them for 9 next turn by playing Lord. We draw an island. So play an island. Play Lord of Atlantis. Go to combat. Alright. Opponent mistargeted the Valakut. So versus our opponent's deck, I think we want Aether Gust. Probably want Tidebinder Mage, even if it's just tapping Steve. Force of Negation, maybe, but probably not. We definitely want Mana Leak. I think I cut 1 Dismember and 1 Biomancer, and we'll try it like this. Alright, start by revealing Lurrus. This seems like a decent hand. We'll keep. Opponent starts Bloodstained Mire. We draw a Cavern. Play Seachrome Coast. Play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks Bloodstained Mire. Gets a Cinderglade. They untap. They play a Mountain. They play Sakura Tribe Elder. We untap. Aether Vial up to 1. We draw an island, play Cavern, name Merfolk, and I'm just going to play out Tidebinder Mage. This should force them to sack Steve because he's no longer a chump blocker. Okay. Not saying that's actually beneficial, but it could potentially disrupt them a little bit. Opponent plays Dryad, plays Valakut. We untap, Aether Vial up to 2. We draw a Wanderwine Hub. Play Hub, tapped. Cast Lord of Atlantis. Go to combat. Attack for 3. Opponent takes 3. So we stop on their upkeep. Activate Vial. Put in Trickster. Tapping Dryad, so they don't get an additional land play, and they won't be able to Valakut this turn. Biggest issue is if they play a fetch land and can activate Valakut on our turn. We don't have another way to cancel out Dryad without drawing, which is a little bit of an issue. They have Anger of the Gods, that's also terrible for us. They explore. Whoa, why are these still all 5? That's not right. Okay, well, at least they didn't have another land to take advantage of that, I guess. I'm going to put Vial up on 3, because if I don't draw a creature here, I need to put Lurrus into my hand. We get a Spreading Seas. So, Spreading Seas, Valakut. Whoops. We draw Seachrome Coast. Play Seachrome Coast. Go to combat. Attack our opponent for 8. The good news is, this being an island, opponent fries our lord. They still take 4 here. With that land being an island and my opponent not being able to play 2 lands last turn, it's an island even though they have Dryad, because of how layers work. And basically, effects that act like Spreading Seas or Dryad or Blood Moon work in the order they are played. So by my opponent playing another Dryad, that land is now all 5 colors again. They play Sakura Tribe Elder, so they can just shoot down our last 2 creatures, which is pretty good. Oh, they can only hit the 1, because we only have 1. We have a Valakut still. Alright. Untap. Vial gonna stay on 3. We draw Dismember. So, play an island. Put Luris into our hand. I kind of want to dismember this Dryad, because it turns this back into an island. Not sure that actually matters, though. I can play Lord of Atlantis and attack, but I think it's better if I don't this turn. I'm going to kill this Dryad, because it's the one that's most recently played. And I think this turns this back into an island. It does. But they have just the right number of lands that they can still play a land and Lightning Bolt off of Valakut. So hopefully they don't draw a land. I'm not sure what else they could have, though. Because basically every card in their deck is a land. Except maybe like Lightning Bolt or Fry. They hardcast Search for Tomorrow. Getting a mountain. Killing Trickster. Escape Shift. Alright, that probably means we're dead. Three, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Yep, they got us. Of course, they just needed to get any lands. It's not like they had to get specific mountains or anything, because they had Dryad. Alright, going on to round 3, or game 3 of round 5. We might actually want Force of Negation, because they do have Escape Shift. I don't know if that's better than Mana Leak, though. Or Aether Gust. I'm going to go without it. Odds are, if I bring in Force, my opponent's going to have a hand that's just all creatures all the way to the top, and then I'm going to look silly. I'll play first. Reveal Luris. Alright. I'm going to keep this hand. Unsettled Mariner is relatively powerful versus Escape Shift, or a whole bunch of Valakut triggers all at once, I should say. We'll start Wanderwine Hub, not revealing anything. Pass the turn. Opponent starts by playing Valakut. We draw Spreading Seas, so play an island. Play Silvergill Adept. Reveal Merfolk Trickster. We'll draw a card. Aether Gust. Okay. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Wooded Foothills, they sack it. They play Steve. We untap. Draw Cavern. Play Cavern. Name Merfolk. And I think we just play Merfolk Trickster. Get them to sack Steve early. They already know about Merfolk Trickster. They may not know we have a second one. Okay, they sack Steve in response. That's pretty reasonable. Go to combat. Attack for 2. It was probably better to leave up that trick. They could have blocked and traded, but if we took them off of a ramp spell, that was probably worth it. I think going shields down here and not leaving up Aether Gust is actually a mistake. So, if my opponent plays Dryad and 2 lands, we're in trouble. Okay, opponent shocks Stomping Ground. They play Steve. Then they Farseek. Okay. I think if we Spreading Seas Valakut and play Unsettled Mariner, we're reasonably well protected from Scape Shift, as well as a Primeval Titan. So we untap, we draw Aether Vial, play Wanderwine Hub, reveal Unsettled Mariner, play Unsettled Mariner, Spreading Seas Valakut, we draw Cavern, go to combat, attack for 2. Opponent may actually block and trade if I attack with Silvergill here, so I'm not going to do that. They sack Steve. Get a land. Opponent untaps. They draw. Opponent plays Reclamation Sage. Targeting Spreading Seas. So Unsettled Mariner trigger. They pay for it. Opponent in the tank. Opponent plays another Valakut. Then passes. We untap. We draw. Mana Leak. Okay. Play Cavern. Name Merfolk. And we're going to play an Aether Vial. And we're going to attack with Silvergill Adept and Trickster. We're going to leave up Trickster, Gust, and Mana Leak, some combination of those two, and hope that that's enough to let us survive. It may not be, so we'll see. Okay, opponent trades with Trickster. Goes to 11. We pass. Opponent untaps. They draw 3 mana. Opponent casts Search for Tomorrow. I'm going to Aether Gust this. I mean, they can just replay it next turn, but they may put it on the bottom of their deck because they probably have a lot better draws than that. They put it on top. Okay. They play Valakut number 3. Well, that's concerning. And Mana Leak will not be enough to protect us. On their end step, we're going to flash in Trickster. We'd love to draw a Lord here. Untap. Vial taking up to 1. Seachrome Coast is not a Lord. Go to combat. Attack for 6. Okay. Opponent goes to 5. Put Lurrus into our hand. Play Seachrome Coast. Pass the turn. So now, if our opponent casts Search for Tomorrow, we're actually going to Mana Leak it, because if they tutor out a mountain... Oh no, actually they have just enough mana, never mind. I was going to say, if they tutor out a mountain, they get 3 Valakut triggers, but then they can't pay for all of them, when technically they can. Although next turn we can Lurrus and then replay Unsettled Mariner. So opponent casts Search for Tomorrow. I think if I Mana Leak this, it's the same result either way. Because if I Mana Leak this, they go down to 2 lands, and they get an untapped land, and then they have 3, and they can shoot 3 individual creatures. Yep, okay. We'll let this resolve. We have Mana Leak in case they cast like a Titan or Scapeshift after this, I guess. Well, they won't, because they have to pay to kill the Unsettled Mariner. All 3 target the Mariner. They really want him dead. They apparently don't care about the other ones. Alright. Oh, they may have Scapeshift. If that's the case, saving Mana Leak was absolutely correct. They kill the Mariner. They play a Forest. Scapeshift. Oh my god. Man, go get him, Unsettled Mariner. Show him who's boss. We untap. Aether Vial, ticket up to 2. If we draw a Lord, they're dead. There it is. Put in Lord of Atlantis. Go to combat. Hit them for 6. Opponent scoops. Alright. We 3 and 2'd. Probably could have 4 and 1'd if I had played correctly. We also did get very lucky, so... we'll open up our treasure chest. 5 play points, a Ruinous Path, and a Stolen by the Fae. Nothing too exciting. Let's go ahead and take a look at this deck list. Merfolk strikes me as the kind of deck that used to be better. But also, it still has game. I think that this could very easily be a good metagame call, depending on whether or not Spreading Seas is going to disrupt your opponent enough, really. The big issue with this version that I see is we're really, really heavy on the 2-drop slot because we're playing Lurrus. I don't know if playing Lurrus is correct or if it isn't. I know that there's a couple of good Merfolk like Marrow Razor in the 3-drop slot. You could definitely turn this list into a budget list if you dropped the Caverns and relied on Aether Vial. Cavern of Souls isn't strictly necessary in the Merfolk deck if you have Aether Vial. You can just play a whole bunch of islands. Merfolk even used to play Fairy Conclave just to have a manland on top of Mutivault. I think playing 4 Mutivaults is probably correct, but the reason that there are so many white lands in the mana base here is because we have to make an allowance for Unsettled Mariner, and we're also trying to cast Lurrus out of the sideboard. Lurrus was a little bit awkward, and I'm not sure that I played correctly using him. Frequently I was putting Vial on 3 when we're only going to Vial in Lurrus 1 time. I know I got the timing on him wrong a couple of times. I definitely didn't take the right line with him, but I don't know if ticking Vial up to 3 to play him is ever correct. I really don't know. I think Benthic Biomancer is better than Curse Catcher, which is just a 1-mana 1/1 Merfolk with Force Spike stapled onto it, for instance, and sorceries. And like I said before, I tend to be pretty bad at playing Aether Vial decks, simply because I'm never sure what's a good opening hand. So frequently I'm going to keep bad hands. I don't like mulliganing with decks like these. I feel like it makes the hands a lot worse because you're not drawing a ton of extra cards, so in general you're not going to dig yourself out of a mulligan in any way. Silvergill Adept and Spreading Seas are a little bit different because like you are drawing a little bit of extra cards there. You can cycle your Waterlogged Groves. I would like to try a non-Lurrus list for Merfolk. if one exists, or otherwise try a mono blue list that doesn't play Unsettled Mariner, even though Mariner felt pretty great, except for the one time it countered the thought not drawing us a card, which was kind of funny. It really felt like we were lacking in the number of lords. With Marrow Razoré, we would definitely have a third lord. If we were blue-green, there is one other blue-green lord, but it does not give Island Walk. Neither does Marrow Razoré, but Marrow Razoré lets you untap other permanents when you cast Merfolk, or tap other permanents when you cast Merfolk. The sideboard felt a little weird. With Force of Negations, we could have countered Anger of the Gods, perhaps, but the only deck that we played against that played Anger of the Gods also played a ton of hand hate. This list definitely has power, but I'm trying to determine where the line is drawn for I don't know how to play a list like this, and the deck felt a little awkward. Because to me, the deck felt a little awkward, and I'm not sure quite where it felt awkward at. But every time I've ever seen a Merfolk player play this deck, they tend to have a really efficient curve, they're doing a bunch of stuff. They don't really drop any mana, if that makes sense. Like, there's no untapped mana whenever I watch another Merfolk player play Merfolk, there's never any untapped mana. It's always mana that was dedicated to, well, if it was untapped, it's to a counterspell, or it's to a trickster, or it's to some other crazy trick that they're going to do. Or, like, they're leaving up a Mutivault to block, that kind of a thing. This felt like I had open mana a lot. And I know part of it is due to my lack of knowledge with the deck. Actually, there were a couple of times where we were really hurting for mana. Where, like, we couldn't leave up a counterspell because we needed to put more pressure on board. And we didn't have Vial. So I'm wondering if I should mulligan aggressively for Vial. I'll try and do a little more research and a little more practice before I play this deck again, but I think Merfolk is fine. It's a reasonable, like, tier 2 power level deck. Definitely could be stronger in the right meta call, because I think in some of the early games, as you saw, like, when it's good, it's great. It definitely involves a little bit more complex combat math, especially versus a deck like Burn playing Eidolon of the Great Revel, because we were relying on our opponent's own Eidolon to kill them. And definitely had some gotcha moments with Unsettled Mariner. It basically won us the game versus Scapeshift, as well as that absolutely back-breaking play against Searing Blaze versus Burn, where they just couldn't pay for the Searing Blaze because it triggered twice. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's all I have to say for this deck. So if you like this content and you want to see more of it, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though the last few have been earlier. We're at a cool 930 subscribers as I'm recording this, which is really, really awesome. We're so close to the milestone. I've been waiting for it forever. I feel like I'm running a real YouTube channel now, and it's fantastic. So, thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate your support, and I want you to know that you're all wonderful human beings. And hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Bye!